Okay, so get this. We're diving into the world of watches today.
But not just any watches. We're talking about the Seiko 5. You've sent over a whole stack of YouTube reviews.
Tons of them focusing on models like the SNXS79 and the SNK361. What's the deal with this watch?
Some are calling it a poor man's Rolex. Others are saying it's a hidden gem. What do you make of that?
It's fascinating, isn't it?
This push and pull between the perception of its affordability and the undeniable quality that shines through in these reviews.
It definitely piques your curiosity.
It totally does.
I mean, is it possible for a watch that hovers around $100 to really deliver on that promise of quality?
Is it a bargain hunter's dream, or are we better off saving up for something pricier?
One thing that struck me was how many reviewers were blown away by the Seiko 5's quality for the price.
You're right. That seems to be a recurring theme.
And it really makes you wonder if there's more to this Seiko brand than meets the eye.
Right. Because it's easy to think, oh, affordable watch must be cutting corners somewhere.
But several reviewers said Seiko could be one of the strongest brands you can have on your wrist, especially under $500.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's important to remember that Seiko isn't some flash-in-the-pan brand.
They have a long and storied history in watchmaking.
In fact, they released the world's very first quartz watch, the Seiko Astron, back in 1969.
They're pioneers.
Seriously. I had no clue Seiko was that significant.
Suddenly, this whole poor man's Rolex thing is making more sense.
Like maybe there's a reason these watches are designed the way they are.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, there's no avoiding it. The Rolex comparisons are everywhere in these reviews, especially with the SNXS79.
It's like they're twins separated at birth or something. Do you think it's a good comparison?
It's an interesting comparison for sure.
The Rolex Oyster Perpetual, it's iconic, it's aspirational.
And in many ways, it represents a certain standard in watchmaking.
And then you have the Seiko 5, a watch that visually seems to echo that same aesthetic, but at a fraction of the price.
It makes you wonder if Seiko is intentionally playing with that connection, or if it's just a case of good design sense.
Reviewers were going on and on about the SNXS79's sunburst style, the baton hands, that day-date complication.
All very reminiscent of the Rolex.
Absolutely.
Those design elements are undeniably classic and contribute to that timeless appeal.
But even with those shared elements, Seiko has made distinct choices, like the recessed crown at 4 o'clock.
A signature of the Seiko 5.
And then you have the different case shapes, like the torpedo design on the SNXS79.
That clearly differentiates it.
Yeah, it's not a carbon copy by any means.
It's like Seiko is nodding to these iconic design cues while still forging its own path.
What's your take on that approach?
I think it speaks to a confidence in their own design language.
They're not afraid to draw inspiration from what works while still maintaining their own identity.
And that's something that's evident when you look at the inner workings of the Seiko 5 as well, specifically the 7S26 movement.
The movement.
This is where things got really interesting in the reviews.
A lot of reviewers praised the 7S26 for its reliability, but some were really hung up on the fact that it lacks hacking and hand winding.
Right. Those features are often seen as hallmarks of higher-end mechanical watches.
So break it down for me. How important are those features, really?
I mean, if you're new to mechanical watches, does it matter if your watch doesn't hack or hand wind?
That's a great question, and it really depends on what you value in a watch.
Some people love the ritual of hand winding their watch, feeling that tactile connection to the mechanics.
And hacking allows for very precise time setting, which appeals to those who value accuracy above all else.
But the 7S26, even without those features, has a reputation for being incredibly robust and long-lasting.
So it's less about being fancy and more about being a workhorse.
Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
And that really speaks to Seiko's philosophy of offering exceptional value.
You're paying for durability and reliability, not necessarily bells and whistles.
Although some reviewers mentioned upgrading older Seiko 5 models with an NH36 movement, which does offer hacking and hand winding.
It's like giving your watch a whole new lease on life.
Whoa, you can actually upgrade the movement.
That's pretty cool.
It's like those car enthusiasts who love to tinker with their engines.
Speaking of tinkering, we've got to talk about the elephant in the room, the bracelet.
Okay.
Let's just say the reviews were passionate.
It seems the bracelet is a bit of a sticking point, especially the stock ones that come with some Seiko 5 models.
Yeah, reviewers didn't hold back.
I saw words like cheap, flimsy, even hair-pulling. Yikes.
So what gives?
Is this a case of Seiko cutting corners to keep the price down?
To some extent, yes.
When you're producing a watch at this price point, choices have to be made.
Seiko clearly prioritized the movement, the overall construction of the watch itself.
The bracelet, it seems, is where they made concessions.
But, and this is important for anyone considering a Seiko 5, the aftermarket bracelet options are unbelievable.
Wait, really? You're telling me there's a whole world of Seiko 5 bracelet upgrades out there?
Absolutely.
And it's a game changer.
Many reviewers showed how swapping out the stock bracelet completely transformed the look and feel of the watch.
So even with the stock bracelet situation,
It sounds like a simple swap can make all the difference.
I'm already browsing for cool options online.
You and me both.
It's amazing how such a seemingly small detail can change the entire personality of a watch.
Totally.
And speaking of personality, something else caught my eye in the reviews,
One guy said having his Seiko 5
especially since it's a discontinued model.
felt like owning a piece of Seiko's history.
Yeah.
It got me thinking, is that part of the appeal here?
Beyond the specs and the price.
Is there an emotional element to choosing a watch like this?
I think that's a really important point.
Watches are often seen as these purely functional objects.
That there's a reason people collect them, obsess over them.
Form emotional attachments to them.
They're more than just timekeepers.
Absolutely.
Like that feeling of strapping on your grandfather's old watch,
There's a weight to that, a story being passed down. Do you think that's something at play with the Seiko 5?
especially these discontinued models.
Definitely.
Vintage watches in general hold a certain allure because they represent a tangible connection to the past.
But even with a newer watch like the Seiko 5, especially the discontinued models,
There's that sense of owning something unique, something that might become a collector's item down the line.
so it's not just about getting a good deal.
It's about potentially owning a future classic.
Exactly.
And for some people, that's a huge part of the appeal.
It's like unearthing a hidden gem, recognizing its value before it becomes widely sought after.
There's a certain thrill to that, for sure.
It's like those sneakerheads who line up for hours to get their hands on a limited edition shoe.
Right.
Speaking of limited edition,
One reviewer mentioned that even within a specific Seiko 5 model,
there are variations, different dial colors, different finishes.
is that something Seiko does intentionally to offer more variety?
I think it speaks to their understanding that watch enthusiasts.
Even those on a budget appreciate options.
It allows for a level of personalization.
Of finding the Seiko 5 that speaks to your individual style.
It's like they're giving you the building blocks to create your own unique watch.
You've got the solid foundation of the movement and the case.
And then you can personalize it with different bracelets, straps, even bezel inserts.
Exactly.
And that level of customization is something that's often reserved for more expensive watches.
It adds to the sense of ownership, of making the watch truly yours.
Plus, it's a lot of fun.
Totally.
It's like those DIY projects where you take something ordinary and transform it into something special.
And it sounds like that's what's so great about the Seiko 5.
It's a watch that rewards curiosity.
You can enjoy it as is, knowing you're getting a solid, reliable watch.
Or you can dive deeper, learn about different modifications, explore different looks.
I think you've hit the nail on the head.
The Seiko 5, it's not just a watch.
It's a gateway into a whole world of watch enthusiasm.
A gateway drug, you mean?
Once you start swapping out bracelets, you're hooked.
Well, there might be some truth to that.
But on a serious note, the Seiko 5 offers a level of accessibility that's hard to beat.
It allows you to dip your toes into the world of mechanical watches without breaking the bank.
And it opens the door to a community of passionate enthusiasts who are always eager to share their knowledge and love for these little time-telling marvels.
So it's more than just buying a watch.
It's joining a club.
In many ways, yes.
It's about connecting with like-minded individuals who appreciate the craftsmanship, the history.
And the sheer joy of owning a well-made watch.
I love that.
Okay, so we've talked about the emotional appeal, the history, the customization options.
So let's get down to specifics.
You've seen the reviews, you know the models.
What can you tell us about the SNXS79 and the SNK361?
What are the key differences?
What should our listener be looking out for?
Happy to delve into that.
The SNXS79 with its clean lines and minimalist design.
It's often the one people gravitate towards when they're looking for that classic Seiko 5 look.
It's the one that gets compared to the Rolex the most, right?
Exactly.
But what's interesting is that even though it has a 37mm case,
It wears smaller on the wrist thanks to its short lug-to-lug measurement.
so even though it's 37mm,
It doesn't wear bulky.
you found reviewers saying it fits their wrist really well,
Yes, that was a common sentiment.
particularly among those with smaller wrists.
They found it to be incredibly comfortable and versatile.
It can easily be dressed up or down depending on the strap choice.
And speaking of straps, that's something to keep in mind with the SNXS79.
It has a 20-millimeter lug width, which means there's a vast array of aftermarket strap and bracelet options available.
Absolutely.
You can really have fun experimenting with different looks.
Now, the SNK361, that's a bit of a different beast.
It has a more unconventional design.
With those faceted sides and that distinct vintage Seiko vibe.
Right, it's definitely a statement piece.
I noticed some reviewers loved its uniqueness.
While others weren't so sure.
It's like it has a love it or hate it kind of design.
What do you make of that?
I think it's a testament to Seiko's willingness to take risks and offer something outside the norm.
It's not for everyone.
But for those who appreciate its quirky charm,
It's a watch that's sure to spark conversations.
it's definitely a conversation starter.
And even though it has a 36-millimeter case, like the SNXS79.
It also wears smaller due to its compact lug-to-lug measurement.
Exactly.
And with its 18-millimeter lug width, you might have to dig a little deeper to find the perfect strap.
But trust me, the options are out there.
This is awesome.
So many choices, so many ways to make these watches your own.
Okay, so we've got a good grasp on the overall vibe of each model.
But let's dive into the nitty-gritty.
What about the movements?
Are they the same in both?
They both house the 7S26 movement, which we discussed earlier.
Right, the workhorse.
So no hacking, no hand winding.
But known for its reliability and longevity.
Precisely.
And it's worth reiterating that if those features are deal breakers.
There's always the option to swap in an NH36 movement later on.
Okay, that's good to know.
So both models have the same movement.
Both wear smaller than their case size suggests.
And both have a ton of aftermarket strap options.
What about the dials?
Any major differences there?
The SNXS79, with its clean, minimalist dial.
Is all about that classic timeless aesthetic.
Right, very Rolex-esque.
Exactly.
Whereas the SNK361, it has a bit more personality,
That pector dial
often with a sunburst effect.
adds a touch of visual interest.
And the indices, they're a bit bolder, more reminiscent of vintage Seiko designs.
It's like they took those classic design cues and cranked them up a notch.
That's a great way to put it.
And let's not forget the day-date complication.
On the SNXS79, it's typically located at the 3 o'clock position, very traditional.
But on the SNK361,
You'll often find it at the 4 o'clock or even the 6 o'clock position.
which adds to its unique charm.
It's like they said, we're going to do things our own way.
I love that Seiko doesn't shy away from those unconventional choices. And it's that blend of classic and quirky that makes the SNK361 such a compelling watch.
It's like that friend who can effortlessly rock a vintage suit with a pair of bright sneakers.
They just own it.
Exactly.
The SNK361, it has that same kind of confidence.
I'm digging it.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
But there's one more burning question on my mind,
You mentioned these models are discontinued.
which in the watch world usually means their value could go up.
Is that something our listeners should consider?
Like, is now the time to snag one of these before they become impossible to find?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It's always hard to predict which watches will become future collectibles.
But the fact that these models are discontinued definitely adds to their allure.
Right, it's like that fear of missing out.
If you wait too long, you might miss your chance.
Exactly.
And there's already a growing community of collectors who are snapping up these discontinued Seiko 5 models.
So it's not just speculation.
It's actually happening.
People are already treating these watches as collectibles.
They really are.
And it makes sense when you think about it.
These watches represent a specific era of Seiko design.
A time when they were really pushing the boundaries of what an affordable mechanical watch could be.
It's like they captured lightning in a bottle with these models.
But that's a great way to put it.
And that's what makes them so special.
They're not just watches, they're time capsules.
They tell a story.
And who wouldn't want to own a piece of that story?
Okay, I'm convinced.
I need to get my hands on one of these before they disappear completely.
But before we wrap up, any final words of wisdom for our listener who might be thinking about taking the Seiko 5 plunge?
I'd say go for it.
You really can't go wrong with the Seiko 5.
They're incredibly well-made watches.
They offer exceptional value for money.
And they have a certain charm that's hard to resist.
Plus, they're a gateway into a whole world of watch enthusiasm.
Exactly.
Whether you choose to keep it simple or dive into the world of modifications and customizations,
Owning a Seiko 5 is an experience you won't regret.
it's a watch that can grow with you on your collecting journey.
Start with a stock model. Fall in love with the feel of a mechanical movement on your wrist.
And who knows?
Maybe one day you'll find yourself browsing those aftermarket parts.
Looking for ways to make your Seiko 5 truly your own?
It's a journey worth taking.
It really is.
Okay, folks. That's a wrap on our Seiko 5 deep dive.
We hope you enjoyed this exploration of these horological gems.
Remember, a watch is more than just a timekeeper.
It's a reflection of your style, your personality,
And your connection to the world around you.
and sometimes the most rewarding discoveries are the ones we make when we least expect it.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning.
And never be afraid to embrace the unexpected.